Dr. John Overton here, aka Johnny O, and I am simulcasting. I'm doing this on Facebook as well as TikTok. Um, it is a beautiful day. Had some rain. We needed that here in Florida. Um, some things are necessary in order to uh, things to grow, in order to experience all that life has to offer, changes of necessity. There's one thing that you're assured of in life. We all know what we're going to succumb to, right? We all know we have to go by the way of the grave. But it all comes to one animal that we all have to go by. It's called change. Change is so critical that you and I are not even the same people that we were yesterday. The cells in our body have regenerated. Millions and billions of cells have regenerated from just yesterday. You're not even the same person that you were. Now, obviously, you're sitting in the same body and you're probably having some of the same thoughts. But in actuality, if you search the corners of your mind, you'll find that there's something a little different about you today than yesterday. Certainly than you were last year or 2 months ago. You'll hear this over and over again, and I'll continue to say it. It has to register, right? It has to register with me, even though I say it on a daily basis. I have to keep myself engaged. And so, by doing this, it helps me to help others to keep themselves engaged. And that is change your mind, change your life. Most of us believe that the evidence, the truest evidence of success is financial. Now, don't get me wrong, you must show some form of financial intelligence in order to have success. However, finance for finance sake, having money for money's sake, being rich is not the same as being wealthy. Wealth encompasses having a mindset, your health, freedom, control of your time, and your total capacity to give of yourself to others. Lend yourself to a cause that's greater than yourself. That's true wealth. I'm going to talk to us about an instrument, a vehicle. All right, I'm going to get to that. You have to have a vehicle which you're using to get to your destination. But notice and hear well that you may start in a particular vehicle, but it may change. You may springboard because your purpose, your chief aim, is not the vehicle, it's the journey. It's accomplishing the purpose. So sometimes life's and causes us to change course. Things happen in life that cause you to change course. The question is, what mindset are we in, and how are we viewing those things that occur? I told you I was going to mention some books that I think are critical. When you're starting from the position that I started from, and that is, I worked hard, went to school, excellent grades, threw myself into what I was doing. Whatever I did excellently. I was always at the top of the class. No, it doesn't matter what I was doing. Yeah, always at the top. All right? There were several of us that competed. All right? And it wasn't so that you can have bragging rights as much so as it was the attitude of excellence. And so that was ingrained in me at an early age. However, working hard, doing all the right things, does not guarantee either riches or wealth if you do not learn the lessons. Life gives you ample opportunities to learn. The vicissitudes of life will cause you to, we're in a constant alchemy chamber, if you will. All right? There's any number of courses of action that can cause you and I to, quote unquote, have to take a detour or get off course. If you take a left one day instead of taking a right, you may run into a traffic jam or accident. If you leave 15 minutes later than you normally leave, you may avoid an accident or an intersection that caused some great harm to someone else. There's any number of things during the course of our lives, decisions that we make, that really are catalysts for our lives, right? What we experience, our experience is critical. And in changing your mind, changing your life, you and I must take control first of our mindset, all right? And so there's 5 books I'm going to recommend you start with, because unless you're financially intelligent, unless you increase your financial IQ, you may get money, but you won't keep money. You won't understand, first of all, how currency operates. Money is a currency. And so if you know about electricity, the only way it benefits you is if the current keeps moving, right? Right? The current has to keep moving. If the current becomes stagnant and stops, you lose the electricity, you lose that life flow, you lose the essence of it. It's the same way with money, all right? You don't get all you can and can all you can get. That's not the way we should live our lives. And many try to live their lives that way. And typically what happens is they wind up being misers and very introspective and egoistic and selfish and greed and all the things that most people say I don't want to be. So learning that money is a tool is key. All right. Here are a few books, and it's not just learning about money, it's learning how to think successfully, how to be successful. Because there's a certain way you and I have to think. That's why, ergo, I came up with the change your mind, change your life. And that will be my mantra probably in all the things that I do, even in my spiritual walk. Change your mind, change your life. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I would suggest you probably start with either The Richest Man in Babylon, and that is by George Clason, and then Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I've got several of his books that I read. And then the second one, I would say, is Rich Dad's Increase Your Financial IQ by Robert Kiyosaki. And then he has Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I think you'd benefit, if you haven't already read it, some may have. All right, you'd benefit tremendously from that. And then number 4 or 5, I would say, is The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz. All right? So, now you can read it in any order, but I think Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill is probably one of the ways to start, and The Richest Man in Babylon. Those two. You can reverse the order, whichever one you Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You can reverse the order on this one as well. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and Increase Your Financial IQ. Both are by Robert Kiyosaki. All right, and then The Magic of Thinking Big, David Schwartz. These all address some aspects of our mindset as well. My aim, my definite chief aim, is to build legacy. This is why I'm doing what I do. To create a legacy. Not so much for myself, but for my grandchildren. I just stand and believe that a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. So, and because I wasn't engaged in this at a young and early age, and I didn't come into the knowledge that I came into until I was more of a mature set, and that was probably a good thing, knowing where my mindset was when I was younger. Here's the thing. You're never too old to start over. It doesn't matter. You're never too old to start over. And if you're young, because I talk to people from 18 to 80, and if you're young, you would do well to pay attention, because you will avoid a lot of pitfalls and a lot of things that we were taught that, quite frankly, were wrong. At the time, it was told to us because that was the mantra. See, the fact that everybody says a thing and it looks like everybody's doing it and having somewhat success doesn't mean it's the best thing for you to do. All right? That's why the majority of people, 95% of the people, go to school, get a good job, follow the rules, do all those things, and they work for the 5% of the people that many of them did not complete school, many of them actually didn't do things right. They were considered, quote unquote, if you look at the amount of so-called, quote unquote, failures that they had, you would say, I don't understand how this guy ever made it. But there is a special way of thinking that will get you to acquire and to achieve your aim. One of the first things, and we talked about it before, so this is an ongoing thing, is write it down. See what you want in your mind's eye and write it down. Otherwise, it's just an aspiration or a dream. And there are many dreamers that come to naught. So you have to write it down. Once you write it down, then you have to take definite action. When you write it down, you have to take definite action. You have to change the words that you speak. You have to begin to declare affirmative actions and words over yourself, because words are containers. So we talked about that already. We talked about the fact that when you talk right, when you think right and talk right, you begin to act right, because you take corresponding action. You need to surround yourself. It's called the principle of mastermind. There are certain people that I talk to on a weekly basis, and sometimes every other day. And I have my wife that I talk to every day. A mastermind principle requires at least 2 people. But as you move in certain arenas, you're going to pick up people that have expertise and have a heart. Notice I said they have an expertise and have a heart for people, have a heart for their fellow man. They're altruistic at heart. They don't just think about self. They're very astute. They have wisdom. They may be wealthy, not just rich, but they care about their fellow man. That is key, because what I do, I don't do for money's sake. Because even when I wasn't making any money, I was still doing what I'm doing now. And it's what I do. It just is. It's just my makeup. Here's the other part. So you've got your mastermind. You've got your chief aim. You got your vision. You've written it down. Write the vision. Make it plain that he who reads it may run. That includes you. You have to see it before you see it. You have to believe it yourself. You have to speak positive words over yourself. Words are containers. They carry spirit and life. So you speak positive to yourself on a daily basis. You look in the mirror and say the words out loud. Declare it over yourself until it sinks into your subconscious. Your subconscious and your conscious have a symbiotic relationship. Because if you do something often enough, it becomes a habit, whether good or bad. All right? So we want to develop good habits. And it begins with our mindset. You have to have right thinking and right actions in order to wind up in the right place. It's not just thinking, because you can think yourself and you become transcendent. You say things that sound good, but you struggle to live practically. We ought to, whatever we do, ought to be translatable into our lives, into our daily happenings and concerns. Why? Because we live in this world. We may not be of this world, but we live in this world. What do I mean by that? We don't think the same way as everybody else. We don't necessarily drive down the same lane. We don't have this thing about an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Or if you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. We don't necessarily deal on that plane. We deal on a higher plane. It's a place of infinite intelligence. It's a spiritual plane. Okay? So now, you've got those things going for you. Now you have to work on your decisiveness and your initiative. That helps you to build self-confidence. And now you begin to develop leadership qualities. The first lead is yourself. Before you can lead anyone else, you have to lead yourself, right? You have to be a person of mental, all right, of mental acuity. That's the metal that you're made of, all right? You have to have mental acuity in order to be able to lead. That means you have to have an environment, ergo that mastermind. You have to have an environment, because your environment will help determine your mental acuity. We had some sayings. It says, show me your company, I'll tell you who you are. We say it another way, birds of a feather flock together, all right? But really what it is whatever you focus on, by thoughts or spoken word, whatever you focus on by thoughts or spoken word will eventually be your reality. If you are fear-based, if you deal in everything that you look at is that, I don't know if I should do that, man. What if this happens and what if that happens? And you're that type of person. You always look for the worst, all right? Now, you're looking at a thing that you have mentally assessed and determined that, okay, I need to move from point A to point B. What I'm doing right now isn't really getting me to the next step. And a good idea, whether you think it is or someone else mentions it, or whatever the case may be, and you think to yourself, you know what? Yeah, I know I've got to try something different. And you look and you examine the information and you say, this looks like something that might be worthwhile. But I don't know, man, you know, what if this happens? Or what if that happens? And you what if yourself, you have so much skepticism that you do nothing. Well, here's the thing. If you do nothing, you get nothing. If you can't move from where you're at to where you perceive that you need to be, or you know that you need to be moving in that direction without taking action. So you have to take an action. Now, sometimes you take an action and it works, or sometimes you take an action and it looks like it works and then it falls off. And what do we say? We say, man, I tried that and it was a big failure. No, it wasn't. You see, it might have been a temporary setback, but it wasn't necessarily a failure. It's all about mindset. It's all about how you look at things. It's all about, do you take the opportunity to learn? Because what happens is, you hear it all the time. You hear it all the time. Thomas Edison failed over 1,000 experiments. He only needed to succeed one time. See, he didn't look at it as failing. What he looked at was the fact that I did what I knew to be was right at the time, what I thought to be would be the way, and I had an idea, but the idea didn't work. But what did he do? He learned from it. See, it's all a matter of perspective. That's why your mind has to be strong. That's why you have to have a made-up mind. That's why it's necessary to have certain habits, all right? Your temporary defeats, and as I was meditating earlier today, this came to me. Your temporary defeats are more often a blessing in disguise if you do not succumb to the woe is me mindset. Why? Because it's a temporary setback. And sometimes it happens because sometimes it's not a matter of you doing the wrong thing as it is, it may not be the correct instrument to get you exactly to where you plan on going. All right? Maybe it helped for a little while. For instance, you started a business, you had a little bit of success, and then things went helter-skelter. Maybe you got ripped off. Maybe someone stole from you, as it was in my case. Maybe the economy turned. Maybe a business partner got ugly with you and took everything. All these things I've witnessed, so I'm telling you stuff that I've seen happen, all right? Or I've heard of, witnessed, all right, from others. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're done, that it's not worth it. What it means is you take those lessons, you put them in their proper perspective, you file those away, because there are certain lessons in there, there's certain signs, right, that you pick up along the way that further down the road, when you are further into your pursuit of your definite chief aim, that these same things may come up, but before they can happen, you recognize it and you can head it off at the pass. All right? So it may be a temporary setback, but this thing is not a destination, it's a journey. And along life's road, life happens. All right? Some people lose a loved one. I lost a loved one. And lost a daughter along the way. And beautiful young lady, and it changed my perspective. As how I need to do what I need to do. And yes, when you lose something that you love, that's one of the fears that we have, by the way, a fear that can keep us from accomplishing. The fear of losing a love of someone that you really are concerned with. All right. Now, in my case, it's an extreme, but if someone that you love walks out of your life, fear of losing that person will keep you from accomplishing what you need to accomplish sometimes. But here's the thing. We don't operate from a position of fear. We operate from a position of faith. Belief. You have to have faith. You have to have belief. Because faith is the substance. You see, before Mr. Carnegie was able to build the great steel empire, he had faith that I could do this. He had faith that if I got the right people around me, and he didn't need a lot, just a few, and he amassed great wealth, was able to help jumpstart the industrial revolution. All right? So it is a matter of mindset. And it doesn't matter the setbacks. Let me say that again. It doesn't matter how many setbacks you have. What matters is the metal that you're made of. What matters is your mindset that propels you forward, that says, I will, I have the faith, I believe this is going to transpire, and I'm going to keep moving in that direction. All right. When these temporary setbacks happen, what we have to do is analyze the behavior that caused these things. And what happens is, in a lot of cases, it helps us to develop our greatest strengths. All right? So that the next time you can navigate appropriately. Now, what I want to talk about here at this juncture is habits, forming habits. We all know people that have bad habits, all right? And we know that if you do a thing often enough, it forms into a habit. But what I want to talk about is creating the right habits, forming the right habits so that it can be impressed upon your mind, so much so that it causes you to take appropriate action and propels you into your purpose, into your future, into what it is that you're purposed to do. In your finances, in your family, in your health, in your wealth. All right? When we need to form a habit, it has to be a mentally forced, conscious effort. Because you're trying to form a positive habit. You're trying to do a thing, perhaps that you haven't been used to before. All right? And so what you have to do in order to form these habits, if you're not a person that reads or like to read, and if you're going to be successful, you're going to have to learn how to read. You're going to have to like reading. You're going to have to fall in love with reading. You're going to have to read. Those are 5 books. I've got a list, all right? And it's a constant thing. And that's just on the, I don't compartmentalize them in this way, but because of my title and the way I'm forced to speak, so to speak, I say I have a secular lane and a spiritual lane. But really, they're all one and the same. Because your integrity is who you are all the time. You just have to know where to operate, how to operate. All right? You have to know the proper perspective, put things in its proper perspective. So, this habit that you want to form, whether that be reading, and you don't like to read, it's remember I said it's a mentally forced thing that you have to do. So now, you're going to deliberately begin to read 3 pages a day. Just 3. All right? It might take you 5 minutes to read 3 pages, if that. But you do it every day. You do it every single day for 7 days. By the 7th day, what happens is, because you're mentally forcing yourself, you find yourself beginning to read more and more and wanting to absorb more and more. Why? Because as you are being instructed and your capacity, your neural waves, your neural fibers are beginning to fire and your imagination begins to expand. We're going to talk about all these things, all right? We've talked about it before, but what happens is your imagination begins to take over, and now you say, okay, I've learned this much. What if I read 5 pages a day? I can really get. What if I read 10 pages a day? What if I just read and finish this thing? so I can gain, because what happens is, as you learn, your mind expands. As your mind expands, you want to absorb more. As you absorb more, you see how this thing becomes perpetual. What happens is it goes from your conscious, because it's a conscious effort, a forced conscious effort, then it becomes a subconscious. That's how you can feed your subconscious. And then it becomes a matter of habit. It's the same way if you do something bad, by the way. You might not like doing what you're doing at first, but you do it, and you get a little bit of enjoyment out, and then you do it again, and you say, hey, and then you do it again, and then you do it again, and you do it again, and a repetition. Next thing you know, you've got a habit that you can't break, good or bad. I want to show you the same effort it takes to go down the wrong road is the same effort that you can use to go down the right path. It's a matter of mindset. And that's why I entitled this, Change Your Mind, Change Your Life. Because if you do decide that you want to go down the right path, you will accomplish your definite chief aim. You will accomplish your goals. In the process, your goals and your purpose and your dreams will probably expand. In fact, I know they will expand, because it's happened for me. And I'm no different than any other person. All right? I took this from others that have told me, listen, keep at it. As you're doing this, as you're moving, as you may not have instant gratification. What do I mean? You may not get all the money that you want right now, because you have to learn, number one, you have to educate yourself, learn how money works, and then you have to become consistent at what you do. That's why it's habit forming. All right? 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. That's one of the books. All right? You have to be able to have a system that no matter what, you know what to do. Because it's become part of your subconscious. What happens as you form good habits and you begin to take on these good actions, these appropriate actions, these positive actions, and you begin to see things happen in a positive light for you, all right? Even with your setbacks, you know, hey, I'm going to win more than I will lose. And I just need to keep winning more than I lose. I just need to keep winning. I need to keep making progress more than I'm having setbacks. And as long as you're moving in the right direction, as long as you're increasing in knowledge, you're increasing in fervency, you're increasing in stability and consistency and persistence and perseverance. See, all these things come into play because you are actually becoming another person. You are transforming. You are that butterfly that is transforming, because the egg has been birthed. You've decided, perhaps like me, that life is more than doing a 9 to 5 and not having enough money and working 40, 50 hours a week and being tired and still not having what you need to do what it is that you need to do. Certainly not to create wealth, because you won't create wealth by working a job, so to speak. you're going to have to be able to do something by the work of your hands. So you find your niche and find what it is you love to do and do it with the excellence and learn how to monetize it, learn how money works, and you will be surprised at the turnaround. But here's the most thing that you gain. Here's the most pleasure that you'll arrive at. Here's the most satisfaction that you'll get. The best thing that you'll get, number one, as you begin to walk in your purpose, walk in your lane, as you march towards your definite chief aim, as you march towards doing the things that it's in your heart to do, and not just what you're forced to do in order to, quote unquote, make ends meet. That's not the life that we were designed for. So, you find an instrument. In my case, the instrument is Digital Wealth Academy, digital marketing. It's an online business. Anybody can do it. It does not require you going to recruit your family, friends, and all this stuff. It's not multi-level. This is something that you invest in you. And hear me when I say this, and you've heard it already, and it's coming fast and furious. All right? Within the next 3 to 5 years, 50% of the jobs that right now that you may be doing and others, at least 50% of them, you'll have no longer any need for it. So you have to get technical skills. You have to be learn how to move in the digital arena, because this is where we are right now. This is where we live. All right? And it's incredible, the things that I'm learning to do at my age. And sometimes it is a little frustrating, yeah, when you can't do what it is that you want to do, and you know others are doing it, and it's so easy for them. You say, well, but nobody's an expert when you first get into any field, right? You didn't learn to ride a bike the first, well, some people did, jumped on a bike and started riding. I wasn't one of them. I fell a number of times, got scared, skinned my knees. But there came a time when I could ride with no hands, all right? And go down and be looking all around and riding and doing what I needed to do. So, you become an expert by repetition. You become an expert by repetition. Digital Wealth Academy will teach you UGC, user-generated content. You learn collaborations. You learn all this technical. You learn about Chat GPT. All right? Generative pre-training. Chat generative pre-training. All right? You have the capability of starting from where you are today and no telling where you'll wind up in the future if you change your mind, apply yourself, and move in the positive. Surround yourself by people that are moving in the light and the same vein that you're moving in. Even with our spiritual studies, we have a group of people, all right, Eagles Gathering, and with the ministry we combine, Truth Unfolded, and we study, and it's amazing how you grow and how you begin to see things when you surround yourself with people of the same mindset. All right? The growth ratio is incredible. Well, it's that way in anything that we do. You have to surround yourself with people of the same mindset that are going in the same direction, and it creates a synergy. So with digital wealth marketing, you don't just get a program, all right? you get a community that you tap into, all right, from around the world. And you can go on there on a daily basis and ask a question and get an answer. Whatever niche you're in, people are finding where their lane. And if you said, hey, I think I want to do this, somebody's doing it already, they'll be happy to give you the information. Because the digital arena, there's about 5 billion people online every day using. And what I'm talking about, if you've got a phone and you got an internet, you're in the digital arena. Now, you may not know how to monetize it. You may not know how to create wealth on it. But I promise you, there are young people, there are middle-aged people that are making I'll just say good amounts of money. I'll put it that way. All right. And there are people that are making $7,000 a month just playing around. There are other people that's gotten to the point where they walked away from six-figure jobs that they've been working on for 15 years inside of 6 months, inside of a year. There are people here that are making anywhere from $7,000 to $250,000 a month, per month. And one of the things that caught my attention with the digital, in the digital arena, was the fact that I was selling cars, luxury cars, and I came across a young man half my age, happened a few years back. I'm no longer selling cars. But I had sold cars for 21 years. And this young man I met probably 17 years into my career. And he made more, he was less than half my age. He made more in a month than I made all year long. And that said to me, wait a second. This young man, I'm working hard. And I'm putting in the hours. And I learned my craft, and I'm there. You know, business loves me. They speak well of me. All right, and yeah, we want you, right? And yeah, we want you to do this and do that, and we'd love to send you here and do there, and but it struck me. I'm working hard, but I'm not really doing what I want to do. I'm giving up more and more of my freedom, giving up more and more of myself. And it's not like I'm living a lavish lifestyle, all right? I'm still tight at the end of the month. And not to mention, it's not like I can just pick up and go do what I want to do when I want to do it with my family. I'm sacrificing so many things, all right, with the family. If you're at that place and you want to change, 9 to 5, you realize that's not the way. Exchanging time for a paycheck is not optimum. It's not what you designed for your life. It's not what you want for you and your loved ones. You're tired of being stuck in the rat race in that one place. Here's an instrument. Take the journey. I'm not going to browbeat you. Digital Wealth Marketing. Click on my bio. Right below my bio link, you'll see the link for Digital Wealth Academy. It's Beacons AI / John Overton. All right? And you'll see the link I have up there. Click on it. And you can do it on Facebook, you can do it on TikTok, you can do it on Instagram. It's $497. You'll be in the community, and we'll walk you through steps A through Z. If you do it, you can DM me, legacy, because this is about legacy over luxury. It's not about you just making money, all right? Because if you're doing this just to make money, at some point, you'll find that money is not the cures for everything, all right? And in fact, if you love money too much, you'll wind up in a terrible state, all right? That's all I can say. Because it's the love of money. Money's not evil. Money is a tool. But if you love money so much that you're willing to step on people and do crooked things and do whatever it is, you know, and when you get so much money, all right, some people lose their minds and feel that they can do whatever they want to do to whoever they want to do it to and have what they want to have, and just they come up with all these weird ideas, all right, lose themselves. Understand, it's a tool, it's a currency, it's meant to flow, all right? And the more you have of it, it should be because you can do more, you can serve more, and you can give more. You can be a blessing to so many other people, all right? It's not how much you keep of it for yourself, but how much you're able to give to help others, right? If you have to check your bank account to see if you can afford to do what's in your heart to do, you're not wealthy. And it's a freedom thing here. This is about freedom. Freedom of having the time to do what you want to do, to be with the people you want to be with, have the time you want to have, do the things you want to do. And here's one of the greatest things I love about it, because I love to travel. I can do this from anywhere in the world. And my family and I, we love to travel. We take trips every year. All right. I want to go to the continent. I've been to Europe, been to all the islands, whatever. Been to Korea, been to Japan, been to Italy, been to France. This next go around, I want to go to the continent, and then I want to make that circuit again. But the next time I make that circuit, it's because I'm imparting of myself into others. Because I have a purpose, I have a legacy, my mind is in the right place, I realize that it's not about me, I realize that I am part and I'm purposed to be here, and I have a part to play. And I know what my part is. How did I learn it? By reading, studying, coming into who I am, getting knowledge of myself, learning self-control, learning patience, learning what it is to have mental fortitude, learning what it is to have the right perspective, introspective and perspective, all right? Knowing what I need to do, knowing how to navigate in circumstances, understanding how to keep myself so that I don't get carried away, all right? That your knowledge doesn't puff you up, all right? Because when you begin to gain this knowledge, all right, right now, the person that's mentoring me is about half my age, all right? And actually, one of the young men that I admire is less than half my age. That's got nothing to do with it, all right? But they have a skill that I need in my life, and I need to apply it, and I need to get as efficient as they are with it. And I realize that even at 62, I still have the mental faculties in order to do it and do it well. I have the energy. And let me just say this. One of the first order of business is to have a healthy temple, because if you are broken, if your temple is broken, it's practically impossible for you to build anything. All right? So we need to claim our time, we need to claim our freedom, but we also need to take care of ourselves and have our health. And when you have time to do what it is that you need to do for you and yours, you can reclaim your health as well. God bless you. I hope I said something that motivated you. Click on it, on the link. Let's take the journey together. If you do so, you will get an email, and you'll get a copy of the receipt. Within 24 hours, you'll get a link. You'll jump into Digital Wealth Academy. You'll begin to learn how to access AI and do the things that you need to do. Learn how to use the tool and manipulate it to build business, to build wealth. All right? It's an incredible tool. That's all I can tell you. Once you become more familiar and see what it's capable of, it's just incredible. And all it is technology, and you can use it to be a benefit not just to yourself but to others. All right? And you have the modules that you'll be going through. Mindset is key. I think that's one of the first ones that you go through, is mindset, because it's going to be necessary to have the right mindset, because now you're moving into a new arena. You have stuff you have to learn, but you don't have to stop your 9 to 5 right now. Here's the good thing. You can do this from 5 to 9. You can do this an hour in the morning and an hour in the evening. If you can put 40 hours a week in for someone else building their wealth, you can put 10 hours in a week to do what it is you need to do, and to help you transition from a 9 to 5, 40-hour week, and work about 10, 12 hours a week and make 10, 20, 30 times the amount of substance that they were willing to pay you for doing the job. Because in the lower echelon, you're exchanging time for money. And a job is just over broke. You'll get paid just enough to keep you coming back the next week or the next 2 weeks or the next month, depending on what your pay cycle is. All right? God bless you. Look forward to hearing from you. And I'll be back. Today is Monday. I'll be back. I may do something. I know I'm going to be doing a teaching on my other platform. I'm a biblical scholar, so I teach. I'm actually dealing with the book of Revelation. If you're interested in that, tune in on Sunday at around 10:30, and I'm dealing with that, and I've been dealing with it methodically. We're going through a lot of what you're hearing is is newspaper. I call it newspaper theology. But that's another subject for a different time. God bless you. I look forward to seeing you change your mind, change your life.